Hey, all you Gretas and Shoe Test Cats out there. Welcome to Environmental Science, Chapter 4, Section 4, What Factors Affect Biodiversity? So, as environmental conditions change, biodiversity, remember bio is life, diversity is variety, so it's the variety of living things, is determined by the balance between the formation of new species and the extinction of existing species. So new species do happen. They are either created or discovered, and existing species do go extinct, even in your lifetime. So human activity has caused a massive loss of biodiversity. We cause species to go extinct. Either we degrade their habitats needed for new species, or we intentionally hunt them and kill them. So speciation occurs when one species splits into two or more different species. Now, here's the thing. It's not like I have one creature and it just like divides into two. But when you have a common ancestor and then it goes two different directions, that is speciation. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to go this way and be this animal, and you go this way and be this animal. It's over time, a common ancestor ends up in two different situations with two different environments and adapts to those environments and therefore becomes different. So species are considered different when individuals can no longer breed and reproduce fertile offspring. So a horse and a horse make a baby horse. A donkey and a donkey make a baby donkey. But a horse and a donkey can actually make a mule, which is called a hybrid. But hybrids cannot make fertile offspring, so they are not considered their own species. So an example I give with speciation is if I took a rat, and it escaped, and now it's living in a big field. It's not going to stay a big white rat. It's going to get, over generations, it will get smaller. It'll probably get darker to blend in and not get picked out as much, maybe faster to, once again, not get eaten. If I take that same rat and I put it up in a tree, it's going to probably turn to like a brown or a gray color over generations to, once again, better blend in with the tree. It might need a much larger tail for balance to not fall out of the tree, and it might get some nifty little claws going on. So if you consider the rat a common ancestor, the rats that ended up in a field look now like mice, and the rats that ended up in trees are now our squirrels. So that is an example. We still have the other thing often, but just different situations and different requirements require different adaptations. And if you get enough of those, that's when you get the different species. Please do not think something turns into something else. It's not like you get enough Pokemon points and you click the evolve button and something turns into something else. That is not speciation. All right, so you can have multiple ways that speciation happens. So if you are geographically isolated, this occurs when groups of the same population become physically isolated. So by mountains, rivers, roads, or distance from one another over time. For example, the squirrels on the opposite sides of the Grand Canyon are now totally different from each other because they've been separated for long enough and the conditions are just different enough they have become different species. Reproductive isolation occurs when mutation and change by natural selection operate independently in the gene pool of geographically isolated populations. So once you are reproductively isolated, that is the definition of a new species, but it can happen through a couple ways. And like I said, one of them is geographic isolation. So we had a fox. Think of the foxes we have around here are more red, but when they went north, then we end up with the Arctic fox. So it adapted to the cold. It's got heavier fur, shorter ears, short legs, and a short nose that helps it compact and keep heat. And then the white fur to help with camouflage. The gray fox, a little bit lower, adapts to the heat through lightweight fur and long ears, legs, and nose, which give off more heat. So they had an early fox population that went in these two directions. Similar, but different enough to be different species. Understand that everything alive eventually will become extinct. Humanity will become extinct at some point. I just need it to not be anytime soon. So extinction occurs when a species ceases to exist, and that's called biological extinction. First, you are threatened if the population starts to get low. Then you become endangered when it's noticeably low. And then if all of them go away, that is extinction. So you've got three options for a species facing a crisis. You can adapt to the new changes in the environment. You can move, go to a new geographical location that is more suitable to their lifestyle. Hey, this isn't working for them anymore. We're going to move. Or you become extinct. So you pretty much need to change, move, or die. Those are your options. Now, last time I checked, we can't just fly off to Mars. So the moving thing off this planet isn't going to work. So we need to figure out how to adapt to all of our changes in our environment before we become extinct. Endemic species are very vulnerable to extinction. So endemic species are species that are native to a specific area. They're found in unique, I am so sorry. They're found only in unique geographic areas, maybe say Australia, making it difficult for them to migrate or adapt during rapidly changing environmental conditions. So if you're only found in one place, it's going to be really hard for you to leave that place. Many endangered endemic species are amphibians. They usually hang out at their one lake, stream, pond. They can't really pack up and go somewhere else. They would dry out before they got there. So a lot of endangered animals are amphibians for multiple reasons, but one of them is because of where they're found. So we can have what is called background extinction and then mass extinction. So once again, all species eventually become extinct. Background extinction rate is a very natural low rate that has existed for all of existence on this planet. About one species per million will disappear every year, go extinct. Mass extinction is a significant rise in that extinction rate. So often global events tied to major widespread environmental change, for example, climate change right now. Current mass extinction may be occurring as a result of human activity. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Current extinction is happening because of human activity. Humans are being dumb and putting money in front of the environment, and things are dying, and it's totally our fault. So a short history of mass extinctions. Looking at fossil and geological evidence, we've had five mass extinctions during the past 500 million years. We are currently in the sixth. There's a really good book called The Sixth Mass Extinction, if you guys want to check that out. These mass extinctions have been followed by an increase in species diversity. And that is because as things die, new species are going to arise to fill all those unoccupied niches or to exploit newly available ones. So often after a mass extinction, we also often have a whole bunch of new critters coming about. So are we experiencing the next mass extinction? Evidence suggests that speciation on average through time has kept ahead of extinction. However, scientists think that we may be experiencing the beginning of a new mass extinction that is a result of scientific activity. And this is a few years old. I will tell you for sure, yes, we are in the sixth mass extinction, and it is because of humans. So we have influence on animals hardcore. Some are positive, some are negative. We can do what is called artificial selection, which is the opposite of natural selection. We can selectively breed or crossbreed between genetic variations of the same species. This can take lots of years, even thousands of years for this to happen. I would say farming is a good example of artificial selection. I want a tomato plant that can grow really big, and I want a tomato plant that can make lots of tomatoes. So if I take one of each of those things and intentionally breed them together, maybe I get a really big tomato plant with lots of tomatoes. Or I want a cow that makes lots of milk. So I would find cows like that, or maybe a cow that's really big and does lots of milk. So I breed those two together. Dog breeds are another example. All dogs came from wolves. But over time, we've intentionally bred them to be all of the different things that exist out there. From the cute and cuddly to the awkward, hairless dogs that aren't real dogs. I don't think they're real dogs. So anyway, that's artificial selection picked by humans. Humans control the traits, and it might not even be the best for the world or society, but we can make them. And then we have what is called genetic engineering, or GMOs. We can alter specific segments of DNA for desired traits. Fish can handle cold water. Tomatoes don't like cold weather, but they actually took the gene from the fish to handle the cold water, and they put it into the tomatoes, and now tomatoes can handle it when it gets a little colder out. So that's in the tomatoes that you eat. you can transfer genes between different species that would not interbreed in nature. Tomatoes and fish are never getting together in nature, but they can in a lab. So this is synthetic biology. We're coming up with new DNA sequences. Genetic engineering by itself, not bad, can be really, really good. And we've been doing it, both of these things in farming for a long time, both artificial selection and once we knew how to modify genes, we've been doing the GMO stuff. But if you modify food to become resistant to Roundup, which is an awful chemical that we dump on plants, then all of your plants are covered in Roundup, which is a really bad chemical that has been linked to cancer, even though we still use it here in the United States. So GMOs, not bad at all, but it might be something associated with the GMO that could be bad. But they also can be really good. You can genetically modify a food to have extra high vitamin A and then get that rice or potato or whatever to areas of the world that tend to be nutrient deficient in their diet. So GMOs can be really, really, really good. Please don't think that just because it's a GMO, it is a bad thing. We have a lot of really good, awesome GMOs out there. And I think, yep, we are done with notes. So you have survived yet another round of notes. Before I go, I want to let each and every one of you know that you are good enough, you are smart enough, and that people do like you. And in case I don't see you, I'd like you to have a good afternoon, a good evening, and good God, do your homework.